Here in Great Britain, we've been experiencing traffic jams, road blockages, demonstrations stopping traffic on motorways, autobahns and state highways. They've sat in the road, they've gone on gantries, the traffic's been stopped, sports events have been stopped. Who are these people? They're called Just Stop Oil. Because oil is a fossil fuel and it's one of the main resources that we rely on in modern civilization to run our vehicles and produce probably most of the clothing I've got on, including my flip-flops that are made of plastic. So this is what is said here. Have a look at this.
Right, why should...
That's what we're asking you to do. We're asking you to side with young people who are asking our government very politely, in line with the UN, saying that we need to come off fossil fuels. With the knowledge that we're going to go over 1.5 degrees and this will undermine the rule of law, we're asking people...
Stop shouting at me.
So Just Stop Oil, she sounds very panicky, doesn't she? It's an emergency, it's an emergency. You imagine if your husband or your wife, a member of your family, has just had a stroke. Now, you'd be panicking like that, wouldn't you? Phoning up for an ambulance. This person is in that kind of state of mind. Oil must be stopped, it's got to be stopped now. But what does she want to do? She and her activist friends, they want to persuade the government, in this case the British government, but wherever you live, they want to persuade the government to change course. Do what they ask and then they'll stop screaming. Is this a Christian behaviour? I'm not talking about the principle of stopping oil, though that is an interesting subject. What did Jesus do? Because if you're a Christian, you need to follow his example. Would he join Stop Oil? And can you imagine him sitting opposite that newscaster and screaming at him like that? Well, let's see what he did. In John chapter 6, he's just been performing the miracles for the people. Being a brilliant teacher, he's fed them, he's done the miracles, and this is how they feel about him. Because they are overawed. He's the best ruler we could ever have. He's the promised Messiah. And then this is what they say. When the people saw, this is verse 14, when the people saw the signs he performed, they began to say, this really is the prophet who was to come into the world. Then Jesus, knowing that they were about to come and seize him to make him king, withdrew to the mountains all alone. And why did Jesus turn away an offer by the majority, the mass of people, be part of a revolution and become the king and save Israel? Why did he turn his back on that? Why did he tell Peter, when he was being arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, put that sword away. Those who live by the sword will die by it. And then he was led off, beaten by the religious officers and their soldiers, and then he was passed to Pilate and eventually he died, didn't he? So why did he reject this? What does he have to say actually about the one who's ruling the world? You see, Jesus had a conversation with Lucifer, or Satan the devil, a fallen angel, a brother, a brother really to him, a brother angel in a sense. Okay, this angel would have been lower than Jesus because he's the son of God, but he was a brother. He was a member of the family. And yet what did Satan say to Jesus? He said in Matthew 4, it says, he offered him all the kingdoms of the world. Now, did he mean just Russia? Putin, yeah, I rule Putin. No, he said all the kingdoms of the world, interestingly. And what did Jesus say? He said this. He said in John 14, verse 30, he says, if I get to it, he says, I will not speak with you much more, because he was about to be arrested and die. For the ruler of this world is coming, and he has no hold on me. And then he says, and this will be in the references, the subtitles, chapter 12, he says, now there is a judging of this world, and now the ruler of this world will be cast out. And we know that Jesus said that God himself appointed Jesus as the judge. So Jesus will judge at God's appropriate time. Jesus will choose the time of judging, and the Bible says that is at Armageddon, what many Christians call the end of the last days. So that's when Jesus is going to rule the planet, but he has to get rid of not just crazy human governments who are not listening to just stop oil, but they're under the control, they're being misled by the ruler of this world. He has to be cast out and imprisoned. So what can Christians do? So Christians do not need to be involved. Well, you can choose to do what you like, but they don't need to be involved in political expressions, because it's human politics that's one of the big things that's failing planet Earth at the moment. It's causing the problems. It's not the solution. Jesus Christ is the only solution. What did he suggest to do? He said, tell people about my kingdom. He said, preach the good news of my kingdom. Preach that I'm coming again. And then he says, and be ready for me when I arrive. So that's what Christians need to do. There is actually a video that's going to come up about why Christians really should take the responsibility and preach. Thank you very much.